I doing the start here?
Hell yeah. And I'm leaving this in.
Okay. Well, hello to the second episode of Look at Them Talk. I say that because we have already recorded a second episode, and today we recorded it an hour earlier than this. Chan, tell them a little bit about that episode.
Bad. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad. But I want to tell Noah's father, if you're listening to this, we're not doing topics, and we're going to talk about whatever we, because when we put a topic on this, we pigeonhole ourselves. It's uncomfortable. It's unnatural, and it's downright unmoral.
And it's un-American.
It really is.
Un-American.
It was so bad. Where we were just sitting there, just like there were so many periods of just silence. We're just like sitting there. You could tell we were thinking about how to talk, but keep within the topic that we had described for ourselves, which was nostalgia.
It was nostalgia.
I was putting myself.
We were trying, but it just wasn't working.
It's not good.
Oh, so bad.
You can't contain this.
No.
It's not what it's supposed to
be. We are the podcast about nothing and everything at the same time. We cannot be doing that to ourselves because that was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a force that can't be contained. It's a force that shouldn't be contained.
We don't want to contain this force. The main thing is because it's not how we speak in person. When I said earlier that it's unnatural, I mean that it is unnatural. When we come together and we actually see each other in person, we don't talk about just one topic. And I didn't plan on this podcast being like that. I wanted this podcast to be as natural and what's the word?
I personally view this podcast as just a way to get closer to you guys for the most part.
Exactly.
And people are like kind of like listening. So it's like I just don't want to like just talk about something.
They can just get close.
We have so much more, where we have so much more we can talk about and
exactly
explore rather than just I don't know, sticking to one topic the entire episode.
We're gonna be ourselves.
That is the topic.
What we should say to anyone who listens that's not family, well, even family, just be yourself. Okay,
you get
don't
get to know us. That's what this is about, right here.
Also, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Corey, Jess, Brianna, Anthony, Nelson, and Beth.
Did you say it right?
I forgot the uncle in front of one of the Nelsons there. They can pick which one what they think it is.
Hello? We love you.
Love ya. And Uncle Nelson, I just want to say, don't tell me what to do when it comes to this podcast. I'm going to talk about nothing for 2 hours. If I can hit 2 hours.
2 hours. He's gonna hold us here hostage while he's talking to us.
Exactly.
Can't get away from him. Oh, jeez.
Oh, that was great.
That episode was so bad, guys. I mean,
I'm glad we're done with that.
Yeah. I don't even want to think about it
anymore. I didn't like it.
We need to move on into something else.
I did like about it, though. I mean, there's things that we hit upon that all of us were like, oh, the nostalgia factor is major with this one. You know, Tonka was definitely one of those.
Tonka was there, yeah.
And we dove deep. We dove deep into the world of Pokemon and the dark side of Pokemon.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that was a swing and a miss right there. That one could have gotten clipped
deep into a rabbit hole.
I should have clipped that.
That Pokemon went deep and it went dark.
Oh my God!
Let your mind run.
A little too much.
All right. Well, I think we talked a little about maybe doing like a quick update on each of us. Do we want to maybe try that out, see how that goes?
Yeah,
I'm really into Larry David being cousins.
Okay, never mind. Let's not do it.
I don't know. It just says cousins, so I'm not going to get into it much, but there's a Time article. So a little update. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to take this as like, what's different in your life right now or what you're doing in your career or just how your week was. Let's just start it off. Landis, you asked, so we're going to start with you. Which one of those questions do you want to field?
which one of those questions? Just a little bit about the update, like what I've
Yeah,
done
I mean,
as
you could take it however you want, but like, kind of how your week is, what's different, what's new.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm feeling kind of anxious right now. My place of work, there's been more continued layoffs in the event of
Right.
this
Yeah, I was wondering how it was gonna
pandemic.
be with
The
the
Well,
whole.
well, first let's
Well,
kind of get
I'm
into
gonna let
like
the people
the
know
sector that you're in.
where I work in. I'm in the oil and gas industry. I work for one of the major oil field service companies right now, and since
Gas has been
if
taking
you
a
guys
huge
might
hit.
have been paying attention, WTI was trading negative like a week ago because they were trying to offload some contracts and they couldn't find a place to store all of their oil that they had. So
Yeah, that's
now
never been seen before.
that was the first time in history they were actually paying people to take the oil, or at least places that can hold it, reservoirs
The
and stuff,
Yeah, and
tankers, all that kind of stuff.
the way that I saw it was like a storage issue, right?
Yeah, it's a storage
It was
issue
kind of like
because
you're
they
paying for
weren't
rent.
able. They were. It just went. On the day that it started. It was at 20 something $25, and then like I guess they were shipping this contract around the May or June. I think it was May future, a May future contract, and they just couldn't find anybody to buy all of the oil in it. And the oil has to go somewhere. Like you can't just those wells are not going to stop pumping once they're already opened. So they're just going to keep taking the oil out of the ground. It's got to go somewhere, and if they can't find a buyer for it, it costs less to pay for people to take it than to shut the wells down. So
Well, that's
that's
pretty
that's how that
interesting.
happened.
Uh, can you talk more about like, maybe the mechanics of like why the oil just can't stop? I imagine there's some sort of positive or not positive, but negative pressure there to
I
like,
don't. I'm not an expert in that, so I don't have a ton of
all
knowledge
right.
with how all of that works yet. I'm still gaining that information, but for the most part, um, I don't know, at this level, from my limited knowledge of how oil wells work, there is pressure that's pretty much constantly just pushing the oil out of the ground once you've already kind of popped the top of it. Because that's kind of what you're, if you're trying to make an efficient well, you want it to have to be able to supply as much pressure on its own. So, for instance, the vertical wellheads that you see pumping around here, at least in Ohio, they're not constantly pumping every day. There might be like an hour of runtime where
Right.
they're just applying just enough pressure to keep that vacuum or that pressure difference so that it's always bringing it up. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know specifically why it costs more to shut the wells down right now, but uh, well, that's where we were at with the most recent May futures contract. So as of right now, the June futures and July futures are still positive. So there is some hope for some oil and gas companies, but there's absolutely going to be some defaults in the future. And
Right.
I'm also, like I said, I'm very anxious about my company right now because they have laid off a few people who are close to the positions that I worked in or that I'm working in right now. So
Starting to look around, your buddies are becoming fewer in numbers. Is
yeah,
that
and
the case?
it's been that way for like the past year, but like even now, like it's just you start to get worried. There might be, I don't know, 2 or 3 more weeks left. I don't know yet because they're shutting down, or they're maybe thinking about shutting down in the future just because.
Right. Hmm.
So, but other than that, other news for me, I guess I don't know. I guess the fourth season of The Last Kingdom came out on Netflix, so I've actually started watching a couple of those episodes already. I really like that show. Um,
The Last Kingdom? I haven't heard about
yeah,
this.
The Last Kingdom. It's kind of like it's a Netflix version of. I don't know if I'm going to anger fans of The Last Kingdom out there by saying this, but it's kind of like a Netflix version of Game of Thrones almost.
That's what
It's
you're saying.
not
Yeah.
fantasy based. It's more of a
Mm.
historical fiction thing where
Okay.
it takes place in England in like I think like 1300s, somewhere around then. But that's when the kingdom of Wessex, East Anglia, Wales, and like Northumbria and Scotland, and the Danes were invading England at that time. So it kind of like deals with this man called Uhtred and his like trials and tribulations in this area. And it's really interesting. I definitely recommend watching it.
So I imagine when you say historical fiction, you're talking like, real events are happening around, but the events of this character that we're going to focus in on are fictional, and it's
Yeah,
probably solely to carry on most of what a person's life was at this
yeah.
time.
I think Uhtred is a fictional character. Last time I looked up, there's maybe a couple bases for him,
Sure.
but he himself, he wasn't actually real. But there are a few like actual figures who were indeed real. So I don't know I don't think, I'm not going to say this thing's accurate at all, but it seems really realistic, and it is a breath of fresh air for the most part compared to how Game of Thrones went. So the show hasn't wrapped up yet, obviously, or at least if it has this season, I don't know because I'm not finished it. And
Yeah.
Sorry. I wasn't paying attention to any of that. I was trying to get to Jesus from Joe Rogan.
You're trying to get to Jesus, 6 clicks to Jesus from Joe
so
Rogan.
It was much more
you missed
difficult.
all of the my update then. Nice.
Yes.
He's
I
not
apologize.
updated.
He's not updated, but
What was
Oh
the
my
well,
gosh.
What was the name of the show?
Yeah, what was the name of
uh
the show again?
it's called The Last Kingdom.
The Last Kingdom.
It's a Netflix original. I guess it started off being produced by the BBC, but then Netflix jumped in with fundraising to help out with the show, and now it's theirs.
Mhm.
It's a really good
Yeah.
show. For
I
Chan, who wasn't listening, I definitely recommend you watch it as well.
You got
I
it.
I have to recommend, because he brought up historical fiction. There's like one of my favorite historical fiction series that were ever made was HBO's Rome. Just called Rome, but it's produced by HBO.
Yeah.
Is how I say that.
Mhm.
Uh, so it follows a couple of characters who are actually mentioned in Caesar's Gallic Wars, but
Gallic or
it,
Gaelic?
uh, Gallic.
Gallic.
So
The
yeah,
Gauls.
the Gauls. So yeah, it's Titus Pullo is one of the main characters, and the other one, man, it escapes me right now. But essentially, like they're mentioned, but they were just kind of like captains or something, some sort of soldiers that got a one-off mentioning during the story, and I guess the writers of HBO just kind of went with it, and then you got to see like the rise of Caesar, and then the kind of like new empire going in with Augustus, and you got this backdrop of like these two characters who were in the war, and then what a common everyday life for Roman would have been during this time, as
And
well as like all the history that was going on, like you were talking about in the
you would say it
1300s.
would be a pretty good description, or at least was it a pretty good description of what it would have been like then, or
It's so good that my AP Latin teacher said that it is recommended to show the culture of Rome.
mm,
Well, that's pretty
And
cool.
he's kind of a fanatic about these sorts of things. So that was how I got onto it, and I watched it in high school. So
yeah.
I've watched it now 2 or 3 times,
I still
and
need to watch it. It's
it's
on my
still
list for
funny
sure, but yeah, no, I've heard
and
it. I have heard
entertaining.
it's good, and HBO rarely puts out stinkers, so
Oh yeah, how much money they put in?
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, they put out a couple. True Detective season 2 was not very good compared to at least the first season. So I mean, HBO for the most part puts out good stuff, and I would not be against watching Rome, especially
Yeah, I
with
mean,
my interest in history. So
it's historical fiction. Sometimes it's quite accurate, so that means adult audiences,
yeah,
to put it lightly.
I do remember seeing a particular scene.
A
I don't.
particular adult scene. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was on the side of the road. You know what I'm talking about?
They start out real quick. There isn't
Yeah.
much to go from kind of documentary to adultness, so to speak.
So
Yeah.
don't watch it with kids in the room.
It's immersive culture. Let's put it that way.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, that's enough of an update for me, I guess. You want to? Either one of you guys want to go?
Well, what
That
do you
sounds.
think, Chandler? You wanna fight for it?
Does Chan want to get on the conversation here?
I'm sorry.
He's playing 6 clicks to Hitler now.
Jesus. But
Jesus still.
here's the thing that I want to know, because there's like 3 different accounts of, I guess, Jesus. So what I'm on now is Jesus, also referred to as Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus Christ, was a
Right.
first century Jewish preacher and religious leader.
Hmm.
Before this, though, I was in Jesus and Christianity. And then before that, I was in Christ. The concept of Christ in Christianity originated from the concept of the Messiah in Judaism. So which one do we
One counts.
which one counts?
I'd
Because
say probably
honestly,
all three.
I think you got to go with Jesus, as the preacher, as the actual person.
I wouldn't penalize anyone for getting to Christ, though.
I just like that you kind of like you think you're there and then you see this and you're like, is this it? Which is what's funny is that, so there's in Christ, the title, it goes Christ, used by Christians as both a name and a title,
Yeah.
synonymous with Jesus. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just click Jesus. And then that's how I get Jesus in Christianity. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. What? And then I read it. I was like, in Christianity, comma, Jesus. I was like, what? I clicked that and I was like, finally, here I am to the actual man who was born in 4 BC. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's some sort of record keeping issue. I forget the details of it, but he's not actually born in year 180.
4 BC.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Is there a 0 year?
I don't know.
What
Do you have a
happens?
0 year? Or
That's a
do
good
you?
I
question. I would think there would be a year 0.
it's like it's calculated backwards, right? So like eventually they just said like here's where we're going to start and then go on. So, like unless you do it that new year,
Time
then
starts now.
it's done backwards. You have to like say it's like, oh, well, we've already had a month of a year, right?
Hmm.
Something like that. So it's pretty interesting,
Mhm.
at the very least.
According to Kiora, there is no year 0 between 1 BC and 1 AD. So
Oh, okay.
apparently, people at that time had not yet known the number 0, which I don't.
Oh, it was a huge invention, and it's a bastard to translate in old literature because it's very confusing. Like where is 0 and what is an actual one? It's awful. I remember
Yeah.
seeing that, and I saw like the number 1 or like a number, and you just have to think like, do I translate it to 4 years? Do I translate it to 5 years? And it's just a whole knuffle. Usually, what I would do is just like, this is what it translates to. Literally, you're going to have to figure it out later. Yeah, that was bad.
All right.
0 is great. We
Well, now that
also didn't have punctuation. I'm going on a tear here. So we didn't have punctuation, and we didn't have spaces, and we didn't have capitalization back in the day either. These are all new things, and they're really nice inventions that make things so much easier to read.
well,
So,
if have you guys ever looked at like Middle English or like just like the previous forms of English and like tried to understand it at all?
I've read Old English, like oh god, what's the famous one of my favorite stories is written in Old English. It's Beowulf.
Beowulf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's the one I
enjoy
always think of.
Beowulf. I know other people didn't like Beowulf, but I was like, this guy is badass. He stuck his arm inside of a, a dragon's throat and like ripped its heart out that way or something, and that's how he killed it. But he got his arm torched in the process.
Oh yeah.
And it was an awesome story.
Is Beowulf like one of those kind of Hercules stories where it's not just a single hero, but it's kind of,
No, Beowulf is a single hero.
it's a single
Yeah,
continuous case. Like it's not just a amalgamous mix of multiple tribes going like, oh yeah, we saw that guy too. He did this, like with Hercules.
no, I'm pretty sure it's a single guy because it. So it first starts out Beowulf. He kills a creature, some creature. I can't exactly. I don't know if it was a thing or it was just some disfigured person. Kills him, hangs his arm above the door or whatever. Ends up pissing the mom off. He
Hmm.
swims to the bottom of the ocean and kills the mother. There was some like
I remember the
thing.
line because my sophomore English teacher was doing British literature for us, and it's all a bunch of boys. I went to an all boy high school, and so there's a line something around like he swam down and entered her deep dark wet world, and he was kind of just trying to win points with all the boys, hint hint, wink wink, nudge nudge. And I was
Ha
like,
ha
all
ha ha
right,
ha ha.
yeah, can we move on and get this
You
over
can't
with?
force a sex joke onto us, teacher.
That's not gonna work.
But
Anyways,
yeah.
yeah.
But he ends up becoming king, kills a dragon later on, dies, and then has a funeral, but I can't remember. Can't remember if something fell apart there or not.
Does he die
I think he
defending
did.
something, or like did he get
I thought he got
poisoned?
killed. I thought he got killed, or no? Was it?
His
I'm trying to
third battle
misremember
is
it
from
because
a
then he,
dragon.
yeah, he attacked the dragon, right? That was guarding the treasure or something.
So the Beowulf's death was caused by a poisonous wound from the dragon, but he really
Mm.
died because his past and his pride blinded him to the reality that he was an aging king who could no longer perform the same feats of strength and bravery, making him a tragic hero. He was
Oh,
blinded by his past and buried by his pride. Yeah, because he ended up killing everything, and I think something like it all just fell down upon him or something.
he just never accepted that he was an old man and didn't give
Yeah,
over the reign. Is
but
that essentially what it is?
I think so. But I think what people aren't realizing is that he killed a dragon as an old man.
He still got it done.
He
Yeah,
He
got
still
it
did it.
done.
He still
yeah.
He
did it.
killed a dragon
It's just that he
as
got
an
it
old
done while
man,
die.
It's just
Yeah,
that he died while doing it.
it
That
sounds
was the
fine.
story.
which is okay,
It's
Yeah,
fine.
And you know
I mean,
the
it just goes to
Vikings would
show.
be like he gets to go to Valhalla because he died in battle,
Yeah.
so he gets to go to Valhalla. So the Vikings would really much love him.
I mean,
they
he didn't
love this.
do. I mean, you can't really top that. I mean, he literally killed a dragon and
Yeah,
died from it. So like, there's like no other way that he's like a top of Valhalla, like the king of Valhalla almost. I mean,
Yeah,
other than
that's really selfless. The next king gets to do all of that. He gets to hang some monster's arm as a chandelier
yeah,
and piss someone else off.
good luck following that dude up.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Grendel is the beast.
Grendel's the
Anyways,
beast, and then after he slays Grendel, Grendel's mother attacks, and then he defeats her. Then he goes home in I guess I don't know how to pronounce that. It's someplace in Sweden, would be modern day Sweden, and becomes king of the Geats, 50 years later, Beowulf defeats a dragon but is mortally wounded in battle. After his death, his attendants cremate his body and erect a tower on a headland in his memory. So whatever I read, I think first was I think they read too much into it and were like did not see that this man killed a dragon and then was essentially immortalized by his own people.
Yeah, I don't know. Guy who dies while killing a dragon, like, not gonna fault him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna be like, oh
I mean,
wow, you died by a
maybe
dragon.
he shouldn't have went and fought the dragon, but he did, and he beat it, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, got the job done.
Yeah.
Anyways,
He did his job.
All right.
so what's different for you, Chan? What's
What's going
what's
on past since
what's
we last?
gotten out of sync since all this happened, or what's just new? What is it?
This is Chandler coming in from post. I'm editing the episode right now, and we had a technical issue with the recording of my little segment, my little spiel, and so I had to cut a lot of that out. And so if it's like a quick abrupt jump, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. We're learning. Stick with us, please. All right. Thanks. Back to the episode.
Yeah, we're going through some a little bit of difficulties, and I'm honestly a little bit distracted here by them. So
Oh, were you getting that too?
yeah, I'm getting it from a little bit from you too. We're having some microphone difficulties cutting
I
out.
was coming in and coming out.
Yeah,
Am I better now?
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine.
Well, hopefully that is okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'll just have to redo it in
a
another
lot of cutting
episode.
in and out.
I saw
yeah.
you like you were typing it there, and I'm like in the middle of speech, and I'm like, do I just stop talking and come back?
I didn't know what to do. Yeah, and I was a little distracted myself.
I was like trying to pick
So
the conversation from it.
yeah,
I
well,
can give a quick overview of what I just said, I
that
guess.
yeah, let's do that, and we'll just go from there.
That's fine. So like I said previous, that we'll see how that turns out to be when I listen to this in post. But I'm in construction. I'd like to go the superintendent route. Superintendent route is really being outdoors all the time, 24/7, and making sure things are kind of being done. Well, it's not all the time. You obviously still have a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, but you're out there on site watching the subcontractors, making sure things are being flowing smoothly. You're a means of communication as well, like with any subcontractor that's out there that needs something. And so you need to know essentially everything that's kind of happening. Really, I mean, you don't have to be an expert in it, but you need to know a little bit about everything that's going on out there. Obviously, the subcontractors themselves, they're the masters. They know what they need to do and how to do it, but you have to be there who kind of knows to, work with them and maybe another subcontractor, making sure lifts are being done correctly. If people have a question or if people need something, that they come to you and you can get it figured out. And then I obviously also talked about how construction is in a gray area and it's not black and white. Um,
Yeah, yeah. When you were saying that, the only thing I can think of is like it's a more of an art. There's some guidelines, there's some ideas that you can follow, but everything's going to be different. Where you kind of have to mold it into your own scenario, and that's more of the art form.
yeah, and the biggest thing that I have, I guess, that would make sense for that is obviously safety. As I talked about, construction back when they built like the Empire State Building, they didn't have what are known as like a personal fall arrest system, which is what you see guys wear when they're up there. They're a harness that goes around the leg and up and attaches to the body, and there's a D clip in the back that should be between the shoulder blades, and that is attached to some sort of anchorage point. So if you fall, you don't fall to your death. You fall 6 feet maybe, and that way somebody can come get you. Because
Right.
if you look at the famous picture of the people on the sitting there eating their lunch on the beam, there's nothing to stop those people from falling to their death.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had, I don't know if they used them, but I know they had like nets that would be underneath the people. And so somebody might like bring that, like, oh, they had nets and stuff. Well, then look up the Golden Gate Bridge, because yeah, people fell into the nets, and then the scaffold fell and killed like 7 people.
Not the longer gonna. You need some help reinforcing those nets because people are kind of heavy.
Yeah. And then setting up each net's gotta be different.
Yeah.
You know,
So.
you're not just making a bunch of Golden Gate bridges, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
So
construction is definitely not what it used to be. A lot less deaths. I mean, there's still a lot of deaths because it's dangerous. No ifs, ands, or buts around it. And sometimes you're going to be put in a dangerous spot, but unfortunately, that's the trade. You
That's how
just
you get paid
try
the
and
big
do
bucks.
you try and do everything you can to make it less dangerous. Things that go into that are, one, wearing PPE. Uh,
Yeah.
you have a safety thing before you start the day. You'll have like a little safety analysis type thing that you're going to go over with your guys. And in that, you're bringing up things that, oh, you've been doing this for like 10 years, but you got to keep this, not in the back of your head. You got to be aware of these situations. Maybe there's pinch points or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of heavy equipment that's getting flown around. Things that it's better to be aware of, because once you become lackadaisical, you can make a mistake, and that mistake, unfortunately, can cause your life to be
Can kill
over.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
People might complain about OSHA guidelines and the rules and all the statutes that might limit the flow of work here and there, but at the end of the day, all of those were written in blood. There's a reason that those were put there, and
Yeah.
something happened for
Yeah.
that certain rule to be there. Like there's just so much that has happened since the beginning of all this construction stuff since like 1900s that everything has just gotten so much better because of it. Unfortunately, through the loss of many limbs, fingers, appendages, lives.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately, that's how it happens. But
Yeah.
it's how we learn.
you said something that it just made me think about something my professor said is every rule is written in blood. Now, it's not nearly as serious as the rules that we're talking about here, but as a student, which, the three of us have either are or recently have been or are going to go back in and be, uh, we've gotten syllabi, and what my professor said is that every single line on that syllabus has a story behind it.
Mhm.
Now, thankfully, it's probably not as big of a deal of a story as what you're talking about, but yeah, it's a little funny to see these things kind of rhyme with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Certain
all
correlations.
laws
Yeah.
are made, if you think about it, there's a law, there's a lot of weird laws that you read, and those are in place because somebody did that. And at the time, that wasn't against the law. So they had to put that in there.
Yep.
Yeah, there's that one here in Ohio at the uh, BMV, and it reads that you can't go whale hunting in Ohio on Sundays.
Sunday. Yeah. It's an odd one. You just think, like, what did that person
What is
do?
the story behind that?
Yeah. Why did
There's
that
got
come
to
to
be
be
something because
in
that nobody
place?
just puts that in there just because. Like there's something that happened.
Or the people that did, that's hilarious. Because now we're talking about it as if something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
Obviously, those probably aren't enforced anymore, because there's another one in Ohio. I think like no more than 4 women can be in a house.
Yeah, it was a brothel law.
It was the combat
Brothel.
brothels.
Yeah.
No more
Yeah.
than
But
four women
at
in
the
a
same time,
house.
what if you have like a
Like living there or just
wife?
like in a
Yeah, what if you
building?
have a wife and then 6 daughters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
It's a brothel.
Illegal. You're gonna have to build a new house for your other daughters. You can only have four. Four
Send
women in
them
a house.
off
Sorry.
to the aunts and uncles.
obviously
Yep.
that's not enforced now, because we have not a fraternities, but sororities,
Oh
and
yeah.
the girls live in those houses, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's more than 4 that live in those houses,
There certainly are.
Yeah.
or whatever the law states. Even if it is on the books anymore, it's not enforced. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you might have laws, but it's got to be enforced by somebody who cares about it,
yeah,
local or state governments for the most part.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I'm sure they don't. That's not on the docket of the syllabus when new police officers enter the training rooms. Like, oh, this is something you're going to have to remember and enforce in the future. No more than 4 women in a single household at any single time. So you're going to have to arrest people for breaking that law.
Yeah, I
So
think they're a little bit more worried with murder, theft, and stuff of that nature.
yeah, you'd like to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's about me. I'm in construction. Um, so yeah, pretty cool stuff. So if anyone out there wants to know, how to get involved in construction, I really recommend, I'm going to say this, you don't have to go to college. If you want to go into the trades, then go into the trades. We need people. You know, if you want to go and learn how to do this stuff, then go do it because it's really cool stuff to work through with your hands and all that stuff. I try and take in as much knowledge as I can from these guys, whether it's plumbing or excavation or concrete work or electrical. These are things that a lot of people don't think about, but it's also what makes us like a first world nation. I was talking to the plumber and he's like, this is like he was having running water, few things that separates us from like a place in Africa
Oh yeah.
because we just have clean running water.
That's the
It's one of the
first part
biggest
of being a
separations.
that's the first part of being a civilization for the most part.
Yeah.
You don't want people tossing shit on the streets.
No.
Watch out
Yeah.
below.
Or in the rivers.
And
Well,
go ahead.
so you bring this up. What are the costs and benefits? So this this isn't exactly the path that you've taken, but you're advocating for it. So what's the benefit of going, the college path and going into something like construction management, and then going into the kind of apprentice and trades path, and going from there and the opportunities you can do as an electrician or plumber or even a contractor and getting your contractor's license. You want to talk more about what you kind of open yourself up to in
Yeah.
college and what you kind of open yourself up to in the other path as well?
Yeah. So going to college um, opens up, at least for construction. You can, there's a superintendent route that you can go in. You can go the project management type of route. You can even go in estimating. So construction management hits on construction as a whole, really. But
Hmm.
when you get into the trades, you kind of you're into whatever trade that is. So that could be, plumbing, electrical,
You might not be putting up
carpentry.
buildings all the time or
Yeah.
helping with that. You've got a bunch of other responsibilities that you might have to take care of.
Yeah, and it takes a while. Your apprenticeship, I think some of them. I don't know if all of them. I don't want to speak and say all of them because I don't know, but they take some of them. I think at least take 4 years at minimum for your
Yeah.
apprenticeship, and then you
Uh-huh.
get your. You don't become a master yet, but you get your journeyman's license. You have to go and take a test and get your journeyman's license, and then at least from what I know in plumbing here in Ohio, you can get your journeyman's license for whatever county you live in, which allows you to do commercial, I believe. Again, I could be wrong, but commercial work and stuff within that county, that area. But
Now,
your
is there like
masters,
guilds? Is there guilds for them too, where they all join together, like plumbers guilds and
there's
stuff like that?
unions.
Unions.
So that would be the closest. And unions are a whole different world as well.
Yeah, we don't need to delve into that right now.
Yeah. And then you can get your masters, which and a master's focuses a little bit more on like the laws and stuff that apply to at least, and I'm just speaking in plumbing because I talked to a plumber all about this stuff. And again, I didn't get to write any of this down. And I was picking his brain that day, and he's a really cool dude, and he's willing to open up and share his knowledge with me, which I really appreciate, because that's really what I'm all about right now. Is I'm trying to learn as much as I can about every little thing.
In your situation, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and actually, anybody should be learning stuff all the time, because that's always, especially in things that you're interested in. So yeah, for sure.
I read a book not too long. Well, I didn't read a book, but it was an audio book that I listened to, and it was about becoming a master or learning stuff, and essentially it was like being a jack of all trades tends to help you out more than it does being a master of one area. If you're a jack of all trades, one, it opens up your thinking about whatever problem you're on more, because you're not thinking about it as an engineer or
Right.
a doctor or
You're not
something of that
pigeonholing your
nature. You're
thoughts.
not pigeonholed to your thoughts and your way of thinking. You have a diverse background that has different ways of thinking, different ways of approaching a situation.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
would like
how
to
I
think
approach
you'd
a
probably
situation isn't necessarily how Noah would approach the situation, just because of our backgrounds and
different
our
experiences.
ideas and our experiences.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I've been trying is ever since my classes is the strange thing that goes along exactly with what you said is the more diverse experiences that you have in the world, oddly enough, the more that you can draw on to actually learn more things. And something also just to kind of touch on, being a jack of all, when a lot of times when people don't realize is that, when you're a boss, you're the last person uh, to get the job done. If the job doesn't get done by you as the last person, the last stronghold, then it doesn't get done. So you kind of have to be the jack of all. Sure, you're not going to be better than your plumber at doing the plumbing work, but you can at least put something up, right? You can kind of get the ball rolling and not just have everything grind to a halt.
Yeah.
As long as those regulations don't kick in. Am I right?
If you're working on your house, you technically can do anything to your house. You don't have to be a certified plumber, electrician, or anything like that. Like, you can put in a light fixture. You don't have to have an electrician's card or anything like that.
Just make sure you turn the power off.
Yeah, turn
Yeah.
the power
Don't do it hot.
off.
Don't even
I've been
don't
zapped.
even
Oh,
try.
it's not
I've
that
been-
hard.
I've done things hard, and I've
It's
been
worth it.
zapped. And it's just it's safer just to take it out of your brain, like just to not worry about it, just by shutting the power off.
It doesn't take that long.
It
It's
takes
not
2 seconds.
it's not that big of a deal.
It's going down to your basement.
You don't need to show how cool
have
you
a
are to your
basement.
friends.
Yeah.
And going to your
Because you
breaker
won't be
box
cool
or a
any
fuse
longer.
panel and just flipping whatever it is. That's it. That's all you have to do. And if you don't know which one it is, you can flip the whole power off to the fuse panel itself and shut everything off, and then go work on it.
Not that big of a deal.
Better safe than sorry. If you
Yeah.
have to go around and reset all your clocks, then so be it.
Well,
I've been zapped too many times. And it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it could just be that one wrong situation that just, you get grounded, and the current goes through your heart, stops it, and bye-bye.
It doesn't take a lot of amps to kill you, does it? It's not.
Not amperage is what you're worried about, not
Yeah, it doesn't.
voltage.
Yeah, amps. It doesn't take a lot of amps to get you, right?
I don't believe so. I think it's like a couple.
Yeah,
what
and
what comes first? Is it like muscle locking? And
It
that's an
depends.
issue at that point because if you're locked in to
then you're
what's
stuck there.
going through it, yeah, you're
Yeah.
stuck. That's it. You can't
Yeah.
release.
This is
Sorry,
fun.
like your
Not-
muscles work on
yeah.
electricity.
Exactly.
No matter how much you want to do it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, because then you, as a person, can't just grab them. So to
Because then
answer
you
your
then you
You
question,
gotta knock them,
yeah,
tackle them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to, what you're supposed to do, from what I know, So typically, when you get locked up, is when your hands make contact and your hands, everything just tightens up. So you
Mm.
want to get something that is not conductive of electricity, I believe. Again, look this up. Please Google this. But
Yep,
I
we are
believe
not
So you're
professional
telling me to
advice.
get
Yeah.
you're telling me to get a metal bat and touch the
No.
person with it?
Oh,
No.
no. You want to get something that is not conductive. So like wood is not conductive of electricity,
So
and you kind of
a
want
copper wire then, yeah.
again, not conductive. You want non-conductive. Wood is not conductive.
Yeah, get a stick or something. I don't know.
Pure H2O is not conductive of electricity.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean use the tap water.
that's
not pure H2O.
Yep.
Don't
You gotta
You
make
think
sure
pure
it's
H2O is
balanced.
coming out of your water, out of your tap,
Don't-
you are severely wrong.
don't use
Yeah,
that.
you also got to make sure that it doesn't have free hydrogen or less hydrogen too, right?
I don't know exactly. I know pure H2O though, and pure hydrogen, water. I don't remember. Is it dioxide? Is it dihydrogen? How do you? What's the?
Dihydrogen oxidase.
Okay.
There's some
Dihydrogen
like
monoxide. It's
monoxide,
dihydrogen
yes. Yeah.
monoxide.
Oxygenase is some strange enzyme.
My three chemistry classes
Yeah.
in college taught me that.
What makes water lethal is all the minerals and everything that are in it. That's what.
Yep.
It's a solution.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, referring to your question earlier, Grant, while any amount of current over 10 milliamps is capable of producing painful
10?
to severe shock, currents between 100 to 200 milliamps or 0.1 to 0.2 amps are lethal. So not even 1 amp.
Not even 1 amp can
It
get
is
you.
0.1 to 0.2 amps that will kill you.
See, that just blows my mind when people can get struck by lightning and survive. Like,
That's because it's not going through your heart.
yeah, but
That's the thing.
still,
You don't
like,
want it to go through your heart.
it's crazy.
Now, there's other issues with that as well because you can get shocked with your hand and then you could have like a little burn mark. But what you don't know is literally all those underneath of that. So it'll be like the size of like, think of a dime
Yeah.
that could come out, and that's on your foot, right? All those muscles underneath of that on that foot, gone. You can forget about it. Those are
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I believe that.
Those are smoked. A person can. There's been multiple times electricians go in just with like a little. It's a little, size of a dime, even less than a dime, on their foot, hand, whatever. Later on, they have to take it off, just because everything underneath of that has just been gone.
Do you
Forget about it.
guys know? Do you guys know the story of Roy Sullivan?
I don't
I don't
know
know.
Roy Sullivan per se.
He was a United States park ranger in the Shenandoah National Park in Virginia,
Did he get
and
shocked by electricity?
he was struck by lightning 7
Some
different
absurd amount of times.
times,
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
survived all
Yep.
of them.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Sometimes you just get lucky.
It had gotten so bad to him that he had, whenever he was in the car and a storm would be passing by, he would pull over on the side of the road and just lie down until it passed. And even then,
I remember being taught that. I've never done it once.
even then, he still got hit by lightning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember like if you can do it, oddly enough, I think one of the safest places to be in a thunderstorm is like underneath your car, as long as the winds aren't torrential, right?
Well, your car
'Cause
is insulated because it's got rubber tires.
but
Yeah,
like,
Directly contact with the
it's a
road.
Faraday cage.
Yeah.
It's not gonna care. Like if there's any metal in the car, it's just gonna go like into the ground before it goes into you.
Yeah.
yeah.
You have more impedance.
Mhm.
I think it's something like that, or it's in the car because same thing. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. Oh, so strange.
Yeah.
Freaking
So to
that
recap, real quick for
struck
anyone
7
listening,
times by lightning.
as for
We
hammers,
we've gone into it.
0.1 to 0.2 amps will kill you. That is 0.1 to 0.2 amps or 100 and 200 milliamps. That's
Tell you what.
lethal.
200 milliamps.
100 to 200 milliamps or 0.1 to 0.2 amps are lethal.